Has this ever happened to you where you kind of wake up from a 3-hour rabbit hole of a project, scratching your head, wondering, how the heck did I just spend 3 hours on a shoelace? Tonight, my top priority was building my future. I was supposed to be studying. I was supposed to be doing research for my next business venture. Whatever, right? So the problem is typically referred to as perfectionism, but it's actually a problem that has many pieces and parts to it. See how many of them I can get off the top of my head. Perfectionism is a 5-part problem, at least. So, part 1 would be prioritization. It's a dysfunction of prioritization. The shoelace broke, and in an ideal world, you would have recognized that you only have 3 hours tonight to work on your high priority project of, we'll just say, studying. You've got a test tomorrow. But you somehow weren't able to recognize that while you need a shoelace tomorrow, and you have another shoe that has a shoelace in it that you could just wear, right? That's your easiest fix, is wear different shoes tomorrow. But somehow you were able to go spend 3 hours on a low priority project. Okay? So one of the 5 things to practice is assigning appropriate prioritization to something when it comes to your attention. So step 1, practice getting better at prioritization. If you're a perfectionist. I'm a recovering perfectionist. Okay, what would step 2 be? And these aren't in any order, okay? Let's just say these are the 5 things you want to consider, practice, and look at on your road to recovery from being a habitual perfectionist. Step 2 would be that in some projects, or I should say in a lot of projects, it's an issue of doing something good enough. And part 3 would be a commitment to looking good. An overcommitment to looking good. Like, what if you have to look perfect before you'll act? What could that be costing you, right? I'm not going to speak up in the team meeting unless I'm 100% sure I know the answer. I'm not going to speak up and ask a girl out at a party unless I'm 100% sure I can completely win her over and get her phone number. I don't know. So it's to say that beware having to look perfect as a main strategy for life. And so flip that over. It's fine to be committed to looking good. But to what degree, right? I want you to wear your clothes when you leave the house. I want you to be kind to people in team meetings. I want you to have reasonable things to say at a party. And so I want you to keep your commitment to looking good. But beware dialing that commitment up to 100 out of 100 and having to look perfect at all times. So if point 3 is beware avoiding taking action because you won't take action unless you do it perfectly. Point 4 would be beware all your responses to other people being perfect. What could an example be? Someone asks you in a team meeting a simple yes or no question, and you turn the response into a 7-minute perfect response explaining all the details and intricacies of a situation that nobody asked for and you weren't given the time for. But somehow in your world you felt, hey, I have to give a perfect, deep explanation of this entire thing, and it needs to be perfect or I won't speak up. And you've got 10 people in the room looking at you like, a yes or no would have been just fine. We just needed something that was good enough. We didn't need you to become Spock from Star Trek and give us the molecular, microscopic, detailed version of the answer and remind everyone in the room that you know everything about the topic and you're the smartest person and you understand it deeply. We just needed a yes or no answer. So beware turning every response and project output as a perfect result. You could be wasting your time and other people's time that aren't looking for that level of specificity and granularity. All right. And point 5 is similar to an earlier point of prioritization, only this is around time allocation. Are you assigning an appropriate amount of time to completing the project? So we'll pick up the shoelace example again. You know you have 3 hours tonight to study for an exam tomorrow. Can you set a timer and give yourself 5 minutes to solve the shoelace problem? And that's a tactic that really helps me as a recovering perfectionist. Because I know my brain is not going to fire off signals. Hey, you don't have to do an excellent job on this. Hey, you don't have to do a perfect job on this. Oh, yeah, I do. Are you kidding me? You give me anything to do, I'm going to be excellent, perfect, great. If given the chance, I'm going to over-engineer it. We've heard that term a lot the last 10, 20 years. And so I invite you to find a way, like setting a timer. The moment you recognize you have a low priority project to work on, right? Go into your smartphone, grab your timer, set it for 3 minutes. Start working on the low priority project, like the shoelace. And when ding-on, ding-on, ding-a-ding-a, ding-on, 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 ding-a-ding-a, ding-on, right? When it goes off, if you gotta reset it for another 3 minutes, do it. Nobody cares. Nobody's watching. Make it a 6-minute project. But by setting that alarm, you can easily now imagine the disaster of a 3-hour rabbit hole of perfection you have prevented. So what's the recap? Perfectionism has at least 5 parts to it. It's not an easy thing to do. You have to be good at doing at least 5 things. You have to be willing to not prioritize the project. You have to be willing to not assign a time allocation to the project, right? Those are both functions of being a good project manager in life. And then you have to be willing to assign a level of quality to the project that's inappropriate. You have to be willing to be excellent or perfect on something that could have just been good enough. And then your emotions or your ego have to get involved, and now it's a function of avoiding not looking perfect or having to look perfect. One is running away from something and one is running towards something. Okay? So there's a reason why there are a lot of perfectionists out there suffering with perfectionism. It's not necessarily something you fix with one idea. You may need to practice at least 5 new skills to lick it. But I promise you, if you work on your prioritization and you practice doing things just good enough and assign the right amount of time allocation to the project, you're going to find yourself wasting less of your life being a perfectionist, saving that time and energy and perfectionism for when it counts. When does perfectionism count? Brain surgery. Measure twice, cut once. Don't leave your scalpel inside the patient, right? Get it right the first time. Perfectionists ought to be brain surgeons. But I don't know about the other 98% of jobs out there. Doing things good enough might apply to a lot of other jobs and a lot of other tasks on those jobs. Hope something in here was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. Please share it with someone you care about, and I'll see ya in the next video.